In our first story, Ghanaians will from today no longer enjoy the free water services following President Akufo-Addo's directive to the Ghana Water Company. The social intervention was to cushion the public against the impact of COVID-19. As this intervention comes to an end, some citizens in the national capital have been reacting. JoyNews' Annabella Ohinijan has more.
Government will absorb the water bills for all Ghanaians for the next 3 months, i.e. April, May and June. All water tankers, publicly and privately owned, are also going to be mobilized to ensure the supply of water to all vulnerable communities.
President Akufo-Addo announcing that government will absorb water bills for Ghanaians from May to June 2020. It was part of COVID-19 relief for the people. The intervention was then extended until 31st December 2020. As the program comes to an end, the responses from water consumers have been varied here in the capital.
I wish it would stay because it has helped a lot of us, a lot. Like washing craft, I didn't go out and go and pay for it and then fetch the water. I just fetched it free and I'm using it and then everything is cool. So I think it's supposed to stay. Yeah. They don't have to cut it out. We beg them.
But were there days where you had challenges with the flow of the water?
Yes. Yeah, there were days. Like Friday evening, then it will stop coming, and then maybe Monday or Sunday evening, then it will start coming again.
Afraid help. It's no help. It's no help. Right now, see it right now. You just want it right now. Is it happening all right? See, it's not coming right now. So we're in the city. You know Osu? Huh. Yeah, it's Osu, right? I have to take my bag to fresh water in the Osu area.
It has helped us in so many ways. Personally, I'm able to bathe with 2 or 3 buckets of water now. The free water policy has helped us a lot, especially we the aged. The government has done well, but I was hoping they would end it after the new year.
My house is far from where the free pipe is, so normally I don't benefit from.
Now, the police in the Ashanti region have gunned down 2 suspected armed robbers after engaging them in a shootout. The suspected armed robbers, numbering about 4, had embarked on a robbery expedition at Santansike-Jase, Oting, Nkwanta and its environs. Police say the robbers succeeded in robbing occupants of about 5 houses of their money, mobile phones, laptop computers and other personal effects. Police Public Relations Officer ASP Godwin Ahianyo wants medical facilities in the region to help the police identify the wounded suspects who may visit their facilities.
The Ashanti Regional Police Patrol Team, today 30th December 2020, engaged some suspected armed robbers in a shootout leading to the death of 2 of them. The suspected armed robbers, numbering about 4, had embarked on a robbery expedition at Santansike-Jase, Oting, Nkwanta and its environs, where they succeeded in robbing occupants of about 5 houses of their mobile phones, monies, laptops and other personal effects. The police information room and command center received a number of distress calls on the robbery and dispatched police patrol teams within the area to the scene. The robbers on scene police opened fire. The team also returned fire, leaving 2 of the suspected robbers between the ages of 20 and 30 years dead. 2 others who are suspected to have sustained gunshot wounds managed to escape. On the spot search at the scene revealed 2 weapons, 1 foreign pistol loaded with 3 live ammunition, 1 revolver with 3 spent ammunition, 2 big backpacks containing 3 laptops, computers, 24 assorted mobile phones, 2 machetes and a cash sum of 3,580 cedis. The bodies of the deceased persons have since been deposited at the Konfado Teaching Hospital awaiting autopsy and identification, whilst efforts are underway to get those who managed to escape arrested. Meanwhile, the command is appealing to all medical facilities in the region and elsewhere to be on the lookout for anyone who visits their facilities with suspected gunshot wounds to report same to the nearest police station or call the following telephone numbers. That is 1855.
Now, majority of Ghanaians will mark the end of 2020 in one social activity or the other. It is a tradition that Ghanaians mark the passage of time with a church service, but there are those who also engage in revelry and make merry in their own way. With the increase in social activities, however, crimes are rampant. Security experts are warning that thievery and armed robbery will be rife on 31st night, so the public must be careful.
Well, before leaving the home, sometimes we don't live within the apartment alone. We have other people. We usually are so fond of leaving the keys under the doormat, on top of the door, in the flower pot or under the flower pot. So anyone who returns from the crossover or late night crusade earlier would pick the key. And now Ghanaians are so fond of leaving the keys on car ties. Now the criminals are very much aware of this, so it's important to either leave the key with a trusted person, okay, or you don't leave it at all. If you can duplicate, I think that could also help. But out there, especially the church crusade, I expect that before you organize such a crusade where you would have thousands of people coming, you need to do some consultation. I mean, you could have someone coming to do a security audit of the venue, because what you do is to establish what we call a security perimeter. Get people within the church who have some skills in security, or perhaps organize volunteer groups and restrict the number of access into the convention center. That is extremely key. And these days, metal detector checks, I mean, the metal detector machine, I have some, it's not very expensive. I mean, you can procure and try as much as you can to subject every person who comes into the grounds to a metal detector check. So we don't have anybody hiding a gun or another offensive weapon, okay? So it is also very, very important to even have volunteer security personnel trained and immersed within, the check service, so they're able to keep an eye on people whose behavior doesn't really look right. Because criminal elements might want to take advantage to not just cause harm to people, but steal valuables. And people would have to be very careful.
Away from that, the Ghana Standards Authority is denying an increase in import charges, contrary to media reports that the agency will from 1st January increase charges in clearing goods at the ports by 20%. Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Jodu, says the authority is only charging for its services and that it does not have the mandate to levy import duties across board at the airport. He spoke earlier in an interview with Gifty Ando-Apia on the AM show.
100% categorical. Import duties have not been increased. Let me repeat it slowly.
Okay.
There have been no increase in import duties. And I would actually challenge anyone who claims or says there have been import duties. But I can give you the context which has led to this story. But it's so important to be absolutely categorical.
Okay.
For starters, the Ghana Standards Authority cannot and does not levy import duties at the ports. It's the duty of Parliament by law.
Okay.
Charges cannot be flown in as sorties. It's the duty of Parliament, and Parliament has not. So what happened was that in 2019 December, the Standards Authority was charged to implement fees and charges for 8 services. And if you permit, I can read the letter to you, because I think that will throw some light on why this noise has come about, unfortunately.
So you were charged to put in some charges for your services as Ghana Standards Authority.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And they were not increases. In fact, several of them were decreases.
Let's pull up that story.
JoyNews has, however, reached out to the Ghana Freight Forwarders Association, which says it will communicate its position on the matter once they engage with other stakeholders. You're live on JoyNews today. We'll take a few messages. Stay with us.
As follows.
You're live on JoyNews today. Now, a member of John Mahamas' legal team, Edward Tamaklo, says the errors which have been detected in his petition will have no impact on the substance of the case that has been filed at the Supreme Court.
Which had to do with a misdescription related to the first or second respondents. And legally speaking, anybody who had had any sound legal training will tell you that. That's why we usually, as lawyers, will call clerical error. It's like a judge writing a judgment and saying first defendant instead of second defendant. All you do is in open court, you just tell the judge with leave, and then you sign by writ, and then you just do the proper decision. That's all. So in terms of the competence or otherwise of the petition, nobody has raised any question whatsoever about the competence of the petition that has been filed.
But you can understand why people are critical about this, even though it is not as significant to the matter itself?
No, it's of no distance bearing to the grounds. For a petition, the petition spells out what it should contain. So far, nobody has said that there's something that a petition ought to contain in accordance with the constitutional instruments governing petitions that we did not do.
So it's not
for me. For me, that's the most important thing.
Okay, well.
Usually, we lawyers, you see, we have what we call fatal and non-fatal errors, quote unquote.
But you see, Edwin, not all of us are lawyers. That's your legal language. People are just looking at the surface of it and how you're holding the Electoral Commission to account when it comes to mistakes. And so people were not expecting errors at all.
No. The work of the Electoral Commission is governed by the Constitution. For instance, Article 63 provides who a president should be. And it said the president should be the president elected based on valid vote cast, not total votes. That's the constitutional threshold. So if you do any other thing, that wrong sins against the Constitution itself, and not like saying first or second respondent. They are two different things. You can't equate the two.
I want us to move on, though. This was just because it raised some.
No, but like I pointed out,
talked about it. So.
I mean, this what you call it, a criticism well taken. But I'm saying that it is something that does not go to the root of what we have found.
Actually, there was also another point, another issue that I also did realize, because after the declaration, the conversation was about the fact that the NDC won the elections. But with what you presented to the court, we see that you're asking for a possible rerun, and you're not holding yourself as winners of the election.
We've alternated several reliefs. If you look at our relief, they are about F, A, B, C, D, E, F. You need to go and look at the implication of each one of the reliefs if so granted. If you are saying that the presidential election instrument should be set aside, what is the net effect of that? Would there be a president declared?
Now, the Member of Parliament-elect for Nsuta Kwamambe Porto constituency, Adelaide in Tim, says she's ready to face off allegations of holding dual citizenship in court. Circulating photos of her United States passport purport she failed to renounce her American citizenship status. The MP-elect, however, says she denounced her American citizenship months to the 2020 elections. Now, Juma has more.
The MP-elect, with an affirmation of renunciation document, proves her U.S. citizenship was renounced. The document shows it was done in August 2020, ahead of the election. Adelaide Intim spoke to the media.
So I heard some of the NDC members are trading my the copy of my citizenship passport, that I haven't renounced my citizenship. But that is untrue. I have renounced it. And I want all my supporters and my loved ones to know that I have renounced my citizenship. And those people who are behind those false allegations, I'm warning them that they shouldn't take me for granted, because the next time that I will see the same thing, the same reputation, I'm going to sue all those people.
Ghana's constitution frowns on an elected member of parliament holding other passports aside that of Ghana. Holding dual citizenship will not only cause loss of a seat, but deemed criminal. Some party members in the constituency say their support for the MP-elect remains strong. Mr. Oseipoku spoke on their behalf.
And today, we have a new face that has come to energize the constituency, that has come to bring a new dynamism in the constituency. And the results indicate that her performance is the best. 71.7. And people think that, and some people think that they can undermine her candidature. The answer is absolutely no. And the people of this constituency are ever ready to defend what they have entrusted their vote to. And we want to send a very firm warning, whether within or without, that those who are behind these machinations, it will not wash today or tomorrow, because the mandate and the verdict of the people is emphatic and it's final.
For JoyNews, Nana Ojima reporting.
Now, the NPP youth organizer who resigned and contested Asoka parliamentary seat as an independent candidate says he does not need to apply to rejoin the party because he's already a member. Eric Osei believes comments made by the General Secretary John Boedu was mere political talk. According to him, the efforts of his supporters gave Nana Akufo-Addo massive votes in the Ashanti region.
According to Eric Osei, the efforts of his supporters gave Nana Akufo-Addo massive votes in the Ashanti region. He says the party should rather be thanking them for spending their own resources to campaign for the party's flag bearer.
I'm saying people member, if the General Secretary is saying we should reapply, I think it's just a political talk, because in fact we heard a lot of conversations that are going on with Honorable Siama, the independent candidate who won at Fomena. I mean, they are even pleading him to come and join the party in parliament. I saw this on social media that they said those of us who are going as independent candidate, they've spread it from the party. But now that our brother, God being so good, the Siama has won, you can't accept the Siama and leave the rest of us. Because, mind you, we all work in the interest of the party because we use our own resources to campaign for the president. So, I voted for the president, so I'm an NPP member.
Mr. Eric Osei, as independent candidate, garnered more than 14,000 votes in the Asoka constituency. Though he lost the contest to incumbent Patricia PJ, Eric says he deserves commendation for such massive support.
Though I lost the election, but I'm very happy about the votes that I were able to amass. But I don't see it as a defeat, because if I'm able to pull 14,005 votes within Asoka, which is NPP stronghold, I think I'm okay with the votes that I secured. I wouldn't say I've lost, no. The people of Asoka have decided, or they decide who to represent them at this time. And I know their decision, I should respect the decision that they've made.
Meanwhile, Mr. Osei says he's willing to join hands with the incumbent MP for the development of the constituency.
Now, the National Peace Ambassador at the Office of the National Chief Imam has been meeting with the Asante Hene at the Minsha Palace on instilling post-election peace. In a private chat, Otumfuo told Clemens Jato that peace is best promoted when there is food on the table, good health and development. Pentapia has more.
The peace ambassador spoke to the media after a courtesy call on the Asantehene at the Mensha Palace in Kumasi.
Our definition of peace and Otumfuo's definition of peace matches so well. Otumfuo talked about peace being construction of good roads, peace, good education, peace being food on the table for us to eat, peace being good health care, peace being everything that makes us human. So if government and its allies are able to provide all these facilities or amenities for the use of the citizenry, I think there wouldn't be any cause for violence in our country. So I think peace encompasses everything as human for good living.
Clemens Jato says, as the NDC gets set to go to court over the 2020 elections verdict, the youth must take learning from the court proceedings and restrain themselves from any political upheavals.
Live on JoyNews today, Daryl Cow is next with business.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority says the outbreak of COVID-19 is having minimal impact on port activities. Its half-year target for the Tema port in 2020 was 8.9 million tons, but by the end of June, it had handled 9.1 million. Now, this is 2.4% more than the target. Tema correspondent Kwame Anka has more in this report.
Comparing 2020 half-year to same period in 2019, where it handled 8.5 million tons of cargo, this year's figure has a difference of 661,966 tons and 7.8% increase. Takoradi Port, on the other hand, could not meet its half-year target of 5.7 million tons compared to 5.8 million tons it did in 2019. Instead, 2.7 million tons was achieved with 3.1 million tons difference, representing 53.2% decrease. General Manager, Marketing and Corporate Affairs at GPHA, Esther Jebidonko says, government's policy on manganese exports contributed to the Takoradi figure.
Export component of Takoradi is very high, and it's made up of manganese and bauxite, dry bulk, clinker, and those other ones, and cocoa. So we realized that the rationalization of the manganese export policy by government drastically affected the Takoradi figures. So because, for example, the manganese actually reduced by about 87.7%. So you can imagine that is why the Takoradi figures are so low. So when you put the Takoradi figures together with Tema, then you have that decrease in the cargo traffic.
Meanwhile, Esther Jebidonko says government interventions for the seaports during the COVID-19 lockdown were very helpful.
Customs and national security were taxed by the government to facilitate the importers coming into the ports and then taking their cargoes to their warehouses. They were just not allowed to actually sell. During that same period, also through our transport ministry, GPHA and the other terminals operating in the ports were asked to alleviate the suffering of our traders by waiving the rents that may have accrued on their cargo due to the fact that there was COVID, the lockdown, and they were not able to come to the ports.
GPHA is looking forward to much busier ports with improved cooperation with all stakeholders in 2021. Kwame Yankes reports for Joy Business.
Now, prices of bread are expected to increase on the market as bakers complain of hikes in the cost of ingredients. Prince Apia has been speaking with members of the Bakers Association in Kumasi and brings us this report.
Theresa Boache Buedu is a baker here in Kumasi. She's been plying this trade for many years. As a result, she's a member of the Bakers Association. She observes prices of flour, sugar and other ingredients like margarine, eggs and salt have all increased. Theresa says the association will increase the price of bread come January 2021.
First one is something maybe 130 ubenyabi.
Prices of ingredients have gone up. Suppliers will reduce their prices. If we do not do something about our pricing, we will run into losses. Our businesses will collapse.
Some type of the bread, the quality wouldn't come. Be beer, the born apostle. And the if Sunny and no mercy corner, I'll say a young home baby. Me I got sad we say next year some man to make one big.
The bakers have called on government to either reduce taxation on wheat or reduce the cost of flour to save their businesses. Madam Theresa says the bakers could be compelled to cut down labor.
Yes, someone pass it. One more down share. Companies now,
government must do something about the taxes on imported ingredients. Our main ingredient is flour.
Now, after one also at me at the main ingredient for baking industry money is some.
The bread retailers fear being pushed out of business without government subventions.
We are really in a difficult situation. We struggle to sell our bread products lately. Government must help us. If prices go up, it will affect us. Patronage will go down and we will run into losses.
In the 5 city, no better 6 and 7. Now I'm do beton, so better. A big crying to me talk because of so the 5 city. See, that's all the Berman 5 city now running at lost. Oh, Obeja Hako.
Prince Apia reporting.
Not the kind of news you'd expect as we head into the new year. That's it for business. We've got a full bulletin of business news at the top of the hour. Up next, sports. Stay tuned.